Hi everybody, it's Raven here. I'm here with Kyle, and I wanted to talk to Kyle today about politeness. Specifically, someone called it excessive politeness, and I really liked that term because it just resonated so deeply with me because I feel like a lot of my life I was taught and raised to be polite to the point that I feel like I sacrifice myself a little bit. Like it's not always genuine. So I really wanted to talk about that today.
Great. What do you have a question about it?
I guess how to not feel like I have to be so like where's the line between being polite just as a person and then being so polite that it's tiring. Does that make sense?
Sure, absolutely. So politeness is important. I think we can all recognize that. So, and you just asked me on the spur. So there's like being polite means you're really not violating anyone else. It's like being polite is, hey, could you please pass the peas, please? like, being polite is great. It's asking permission. It's being considerate of others, and there's kind of a nice social construct around it. It means I'm not going to really penetrate through what else anybody else can handle. Like I kind of recognize where they're at. I'm not here to take anything. I'm not here to violate anybody else. And I'm considerate. So being considerate of another. Now, politeness is a social form. And if you're being polite and somebody else is not, meaning they're trying to penetrate into something that you haven't offered, or if they're being impolite, is you can politely take care of yourself in the situation. So, somebody that is a violator can control you with the expectation of being polite. So violation is when you enter into another person's space without permission. And so we talk about this, we have this idea of consent. And so politeness is a form of honoring consent. So you ask people if they'd be open to this, or if they'd be interested, or if they would not mind doing this, please, or saying thank you. It's like a way of honoring consent. What we say in inquiry method is there's no penetration without consent, meaning I'm not going to penetrate your field or into your space unless I have consent. So politeness is a way of just not walking around violating other people. Now, if somebody's penetrating you without your consent, you can start with politeness and just say, no, thank you. Or you can say, no, I don't prefer to do that. Or, I feel complete with this conversation. Thank you. I'm glad we had a chance to meet. Or, those kind of things. And so that you can let people know that you don't want the invasion, that they have to use consent. Now, a lot of people that don't use much consent expect you to use consent. So they'll use politeness as a way to open up other people. So politeness is a social way of being with another person where we're not violating other people's boundaries. I can very politely say, hey, I felt something when we were just talking. Would you be interested in talking about it? Somebody who's not polite would just say, hey, I don't like what you said and I'm really angry about it. That's really impolite. We always ask for permission. We ask if the other person's interested in it, and it changes the nature of the conversation. So I think politeness is really appropriate, but politeness does not imply that I have to accede to somebody else's demands. And I would say that the same thing goes for respect. Some people demand respect, and I feel that respect is earned. And politeness is a form of earning respect. If I'm polite, then I can earn another person's respect. And people that don't behave politely don't haven't earned my respect necessarily. So that's kind of my take on politeness.
Yeah, I think the way that I was thinking of polite is kind of what you talked about just at the end there about um, earning respect. And I
Yeah.
think for me personally, sometimes it's like I have this like deep desire to like earn respect to the point that it can sometimes feel not ingenuine, but like I have a duty. I have like a duty to be really polite or something like that.
Yeah, well, it's really emphasized in your family is duty, and duty is another interesting word. Is what is our duty, and do we create our own duty, or do other people create duty for us? And I think duty is a beautiful thing. Duty, is a way of saying that I've got some duty in life. Like I have a duty, in a way, is to offer what I know to other people. Like, and I can feel it because something gets backed up in me when I'm not teaching or sharing or offering what I have. Now I don't have a duty to change the world, but if somebody comes and asks me for help, there's this quality of duty that rises up in me. And even it's not exactly that I set aside what I want, but I recognize that there's a deeper form of what I want is to be a man in the world that meets his duty to other humans, and to create a beautiful planet and good relationships. And there's like family is not necessarily something that we choose, but it's a wonderful way to practice and level up our capacity. And I feel a certain duty to family, meaning in family, I have a commitment to be there for those people. Now, that commitment doesn't mean I give myself away, but in the connection and being authentic in the connection, I'm not going to penetrate anybody else without their consent. But if something's not feeling good, with consent, I will bring it up and shift the energy. And so, family as a container that I honor and value, and I have a certain inner sense of duty to, not one that's artificial or external or something that's put on me by culture. I know that I have a choice about it. But when I feel into myself is that I see that I actually want to serve and participate in family. And so I do.
Yeah, I've always appreciated how you talk about consent a lot because that puts it in a different perspective for me. And two other things I thought about when you were talking that came up were value, like what is my truth and my value versus like what I've been taught to value, and using that when thinking about politeness instead. Yeah, that's what came up for me.
So people that are really graceful and regal use politeness, but it's not demeaning. I don't need to demean myself to be polite. I can actually elevate myself into politeness, that I'm being polite. It's not that I lack power. Some people are polite because they feel insecure. Some people are polite because they feel less than and they have to. And then it no longer has that regal quality. So I really love regal politeness, meaning I'm being polite. I have power and I'm being polite.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of, regal politeness versus people doing it with a sense of lack. I think that's
Yeah.
where I was thinking of, like the excessive part coming in.
There's a term for that, very specific term. It's called kissing ass.
I know, and it's interesting. I've noticed like myself and other people do it in situations where like you wouldn't think that it's kissing ass, right? Because I'm not like, I guess when I think of kissing ass, I think of like teachers and stuff like that. But like it can just be done in like a day-to-day interaction.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, great. Well, I think that was good. I feel good about it.
Yeah. Great talk. I love your questions. And yeah, that's really good. Thank you for your vulnerability as well. Thanks for everybody for joining us. And boy, I just have to say that the membership calls have just been magical, and just keeps getting better. And would love to invite you to it. And you get to be Raven when you jump on those calls, because you can ask your questions and get insight and ahas and inspiration, and you get to hear other people's too. So really invite everybody to join us on membership.
Yeah, and anything goes. There's no such thing as a stupid question. If Kyle thinks it's stupid, he won't tell you. Well, he might tell you, but anything goes. And if you're not a member, I highly recommend checking it out, because membership offers a lot of different things, like the e-courses and the calls. And so you can check it out at our website at lifeataltitude.com, and your first call is free. So you should definitely check it out.
Amazing. Thanks, Raven. So great to hang out with you. This is great.
Thanks, Kyle. All right, everyone. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.